Illinois faces some big challenges. Today, you're about to hear a truly honest analysis of the problems we face. Equally important, you'll also hear an in-depth discussion of some practical solutions. This is your radio source for stories, the insight, and the answers you won't hear anywhere else, not in the media, and not coming from Springfield. You're listening to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Opportunity Project. Now, here's your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Welcome to another edition of Illinois Rising. I'm Dan Proft, co-host of Chicago's Morning Answer, weekdays 5 to 9 a.m. on AM 560 with Amy Jacobson. And joining me on this edition, co-hosting, is Joe Kaiser, who is the producer for this program, as well as a writer at Illinois Policy Institute. And Joe, we still have some divisions in the Illinois Republican Party. That's nothing new. A challenge to the incumbent governor or gubernatorial nominee's state party chairman pick, though, is relatively new. It's sort of been historically the case where whoever the Republican candidate is for governor, or if there's a Republican incumbent governor, like there is with Rauner, then whoever they want for chairman is who they get. But that's not the case this time around. There's a party convention coming up on, a State Central Committee meeting coming up on May 19th, where the State Central Committee, the members of the governing body of the state party, will vote on the next chairman. Tim Schneider, Cook County Commissioner, who's facing his own tough reelect, frankly, in November for the Cook County Board, is the current party chairman, longtime Rauner ally from the beginning, at least, from when he ran in 2014. Challenging him is Lake County Republican Chairman and member of the State Central Committee, Mark Shaw, who joins us now. Mark, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Dan.
So just kind of give us the impetus for your challenge, because per the recently concluded county conventions, it seems like the State Central Committee, at least reported it to be, almost evenly divided between you and Tim Schneider. So it's a divided State Central Committee, sort of in a divided party in the state.
The reason that I'm running for state chairman is because I would like to try to bring together all the diverse portions of our party, the conservatives, the moderates, and the more progressive Republicans in our party.
On a policy front, what are the key things that you think the current party leadership has failed to lead on? I mean, you've got recent endorsements from state reps like David McSweeney and Jeannie Ives, who have led on a lot of key issues. McSweeney leading on local government consolidation and imposing a progressive tax. Jeannie Ives leading on school district debt and some other key issues. What are the things that you think the current Republican Party has failed to lead on?
Well, the problem with the current Republican Party leadership, at least as far as their leadership abilities, is they haven't really come out and taken a position on a number of the issues that face our General Assembly, the Republicans in our General Assembly, like the issues of Second Amendment rights and some of the things that our conservatives are more vocal about.
Well, yeah, I mean, as for just sticking in the Second Amendment as one example, you have this sort of grassroots movement by some county board members in Effingham County to do a little jujitsu, introduce sanctuary county resolutions to make Effingham County a sanctuary county for individual Second Amendment rights, the way that the left has done it for federal immigration law enforcement. And this is something that's sort of gone viral, not only in Illinois, with several dozen counties asking Effingham County for their model resolution to move it through their county boards, but also I know that the NRA picked it up and profiled it on their website, too. That seems to be a no-brainer against the backdrop of Chicago Democrats trying to impose more gun control regulations on Illinois families. And so this would seem like an opportunity to, well, bring the party together around a particular issue, and an issue that highlights a position that Democrats have taken that's at odds with 80% of the general electorate, which is sanctuary state policies.
Yeah, and to your point there, Dan, I mean, it's not so much what the state party's position is or isn't, it's that they take no position. They don't come out and take a position one way or the other whether it's consistent with the platform or whether it's not consistent with the platform. The state party is silent so many times, and that leads to unfortunate disagreements around the state, because we have a very diverse state in Illinois, as most people know that have studied the state. I mean, I've lived all over Illinois, and the differences between the northern part of the state and the southern part of the state can be pretty dramatic. And when the state party is silent on the issues that are prevalent today in the political environment, it causes people not to know what the Republican Party stands for. It also doesn't give any kind of direction or advice to our elected officials as to what it is that Republicans stand for and what it is that they should be standing for. A lot of Republican elected officials have, looked to us in the past for the Republican Party's leadership on issues, and we're silent.
I had a colleague of yours from Lake County Sheriff Mark Curran on my morning program talking about this in pertinent part, and he suggested that with respect to Tim Schneider, the incumbent state party chairman, look, yeah, he lives in Lake County. Obviously, he's the sheriff there. Lake County is an important collar county. Republicans need to start winning if they want to win statewide elections. Tim Schneider's there in northwest suburban Cook County. That's not that far away. And he said he's never met Tim Schneider. He's never seen him. So it's not just about taking positions, it seems to me. It's also a little bit about the work ethic to party build beyond just the governor's race, but thinking about the governor's race, but the long-term infrastructure of the party. It's one of the criticisms being lodged by some allies of yours like Curran.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I have advocated. I've been on the State Central Committee for 6 years. I was appointed in 12 and served on former Chairman Pat Brady's board. And the problem that we have is that the state party does not, in my view, go down into the trenches and help the local grassroots organizations develop their message, develop their ground game, et cetera. They don't. They're absent many times. Now, I suspect probably some would say, well, that's the job of state central committeemen to go do that. Well, the state central committeemen do their best. I mean, some of the congressional districts, like Bob Winchester, for example, in southern Illinois, has 33 counties, so it makes it difficult, I'm sure, for Bob or anybody else to cover an area like that on a regular basis. But when we don't have leadership from the top that is trying to encourage, more involvement with the grassroots, it makes it difficult for the people out there that are basically fighting the battles day in and day out against the Democrats to feel like they've got a leader that they can look to for support and for encouragement.
Do you think these two things are related, the fact that they're not connecting with the grassroots and also that they're not taking a position? Because it seems to me like if you're not listening to the grassroots, if you're not listening to the people on the ground, that leads to not having a strong position at the top and then leads to eventually bad policy outcomes moving forward.
It can. I mean, you could almost compare it to the difference between people that have been commander-in-chief in our country where they try to micromanage everything from the top, or they have nothing to do with any involvement at all. I mean, you need a leader that understands where to offer advice, where to offer encouragement, and where to offer resources, but you also need a leader that's willing to listen to the people on the ground that are fighting the day-to-day battles as to what they see in real time on the ground on a daily basis. And there seems to be this disconnect. So a lack of information, both coming down to the grassroots as well as accepting information coming up, leads to chaos and no cohesive message from which people can rally around.
Yeah, I mean, you want leadership from the executive. The state party chairman is the executive. The committee is the legislative body, just like the governor and the general. I mean, I don't know why this is so complicated for people, but it's because I guess they're bootstrapping cover stories for incompetence. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on, competence. Because the press and some want to make this like, it's conservative versus moderate, but it's more robust and textured than that. And the example is Art Jones. You have a neo-Nazi as our party's nominee for the 3rd Congressional District running against Dan Lipinski, despite the fact that Dan Lipinski, and we knew he was going to face a tough primary challenge that he narrowly won. This is an area that's got a lot of blue-collar Trump supporters, so it'd be certainly tough to take Dan Lipinski out in a general election, but why not use that as an opportunity, a platform to bring in a new generation of Republican candidates and provide some people with some avenues to present their credentials and present that the various constituencies with actual substantive choices. Instead, we have a party that's asleep at the switch and allows for this kind of embarrassment to occur. That's a competence issue. That's not a philosophical issue.
Well, and to that point, as chairman of the Lake County Republican Central Committee, the third largest county in the whole state, the first thing that I did after I became chairman, even though the primary had passed over, before I got elected and afterwards, I ran write-in candidates, got people to run as write-in candidates to get on the ballot in the primary, got people actually nominated through the primary process in Lake County that had not been on the ballot during the petition filing times, got them on the ballot. I also recruited people and slated them after the primaries to run against Democrats in areas where we had no candidates. And my attitude was that you can't win anything, you can't persuade other people that don't know your viewpoints on things if you've got nobody there carrying the message. Likewise, when I ran for state representative back in 2012, I was appointed 4 months before the election because our candidate withdrew, and my main objective was to go around and spread the Republican message in a very Democratic district, not because I was certain I was going to win at that late date, but it was because I wanted to get out and show Republicans that there was a viable Republican alternative, and I was astounded at the number of Republicans when I would go to the doors. I hit 10,000 doors, Dan, in 4 months. I knocked on doors and people were like, we've never seen a Republican in this area before. We were afraid to come out of basically the closet as a Republican in our areas because it's very blue. And they would put my signs up and they were proud now to admit they were Republican because they had somebody to get behind. This is the kind of thing we need. We need to recruit people in areas that we don't necessarily play that well, because it's not always about winning the individual races in those areas. It's about picking up additional support and moving the needle more towards our viewpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so how does the meeting on the 19th, where the State Central Committee will make its determination for chairman, how does that shake out as far as you see it?
Well, it's going to be an interesting thing because as it stands right now, the issue of who won the 15th Congressional District is in dispute. My understanding is the State Board of Elections is going to have a special meeting today, and they're merely going to acknowledge the fact that they have received the numbers from the various counties through the state party itself. These were not provided to the State Board of Elections by the county chairman. They were provided to the State Board of Elections by the state party staff. The law requires the county chairman to provide the information to the Board of Elections as to who won the different races in their counties. That's not what happened. There's also a number of anecdotal stories of voting irregularities that took place in a number of the county conventions that are being challenged. It's my understanding there's going to be a legal challenge probably brought to try to dispute the winner of District 15. You know, under the law as well as Robert's Rules of Order, if the seat is in dispute, the 15th district is not allowed to vote at that particular organizational meeting. And if the 15th district is not allowed to vote, I will be successful based upon the commitments I've received from my supporters.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a helpful handicapping of it. He is Mark Shaw, Lake County Republican Party chairman and member of the Republican Party State Central Committee, as well as a candidate for state party chairman. We'll see what happens on the 19th. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for having me.